Hello everyone, my name is Andrew Boylan, and I have great news to tell you. I was going to do this 2 months ago when all this started, but I didn't quite know how to say it, and I thought maybe I shouldn't talk about this because it would just be boosting my ego. But then I thought, no, because if there's anyone out there struggling like I was, I want to tell them that there is hope. I usually don't talk about stuff like this on my channel. I usually talk about movies, my childhood, The Man and Dog, Wonderland Pier, usually talk about that stuff. But I wanted to talk about something else. I've usually kept religion very quiet on my channel. I usually don't talk about that kind of stuff. I really never did, actually, with anybody other than my parents. But I had a big experience, or experiences in my life that led to where I am right now, and this road that I've been on for the last 2 months. And for any kids out there watching this, because I know that children watch my YouTube channel, I'm going to talk about some heavy stuff here that I think your parents might want to check this out first, just to be safe, because it has to do with addiction. And the reason I'm making this video is because not only do I want to tell anyone who has an addiction problem that you can overcome it, I'm here to testify that God is real, and the fact that I closed him out for a long time and I didn't even realize that I was. So I want to talk about the time when I opened up to God and the Holy Spirit came into me. I am not making this video to get more views. I am not making this video to boost my ego. I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me. I'm not even making this to make people feel happy for me. I'm not, because I am here to testify. That's what I'm here to do. So here we go. Before I talk about when this all started, I want to tell you guys a couple stories about some things that have happened to me in my life, and why, in hindsight now, it all kind of makes sense. First of all, a lot of people who don't know me personally, I've always been... I'm actually a very shy person. I'm very quiet. Like, when I meet new people, I'm the quietest guy you'll see. I usually don't like to be in conversations with people. I'd rather someone else start talking to me rather than me talking to them, because it's easier. It's 10 times easier when the person comes up to me and talks about something that I like. Like, if they come up to me and they start a conversation like, hey, by the way, have you ever seen Die Hard? All right, here we go. Yeah, I love that. Okay, yeah, like that. It's a lot easier at Wonderland Pier with the Man and Dog videos, because now I have strangers coming up to me. Well, they're not strangers. You guys are very nice people, by the way. But, people come up to me and they go, so, about the Man and Dog. Okay, what do you want to know? What do you want to know? I'm a very shy person. When I'm by myself, I'm the exact opposite. I am very... I guess I'm outgoing in a way, but when I'm by myself, I'm a completely different person. In a good way, not in a bad way. But I'm also very insecure about myself. You see, I grew up as a kid wanting to be a filmmaker. I wanted that more than anything. I wanted to be the next Steven Spielberg, you guys. I wanted to be the next Alfred Hitchcock. Because I would watch their movies over and over again, and I would love what they would do with the camera. I could tell you all the camera tricks. I could tell you everything about the making of this movie. Like, I was like Quentin Tarantino, but Tarantino knows a lot of movies from, like, other countries. Like, he knows a lot about foreign films. He can do this with foreign films. I can only do this with films in America, because these are the movies that I watch. I have been a lonely human being for a long, long time, you guys. I've been very lonely. I've, not just lonely as in, you know, oh, I don't have a relationship. Lonely in a sense that I have nothing. I just walked around every day feeling like I had nothing. So to cope with that, I would eat. And I had this problem, I had this addiction for a long time, you guys, and I mean a long time. When I was 10, I'll never forget when it started. I remember when it started. When I was about 9 years old, and it happened in the most idiotic of ways, the most stupid way possible. And you would think this would be the last place to start an addiction, but this is how it happened. When I was about 9 years old, so this is 2002, first of all, I should say, I grew up watching the movie 101 Dalmatians with Glenn Close. Okay, I love that movie. I actually prefer that over the animated one, the one that Walt Disney did in the 60s. But I finally got around to seeing the animated version when I was 9. Now, I grew up with the live action one, but I finally saw the animated one when I was 9. And there's a moment in that movie where they're at DeVille Manor, and it's right before Tibbs steals all the puppies and they all go running out. You see Horace sitting there, and he's got a sandwich, and Tibbs is like grabbing the stuff out of his sandwich, and he just eats 2 slices of bread. Hey, Jasper, did you And he like puts his cigar out on the bread. When he ate those 2 slices of bread, an idea came into my head, and I'm like, you know, I wonder what that would taste like. Because I've only had 2 slices of bread up until that point with a sandwich. So I'm like, okay, let me see how that tastes. Went into the kitchen, grabbed 2 slices of bread, ate it, and I felt a sense of nourishment. And that went on day by day for 17 years. Every day. Every single day. If my mom bought a loaf of white bread, Wonder white bread, or any kind of white bread, Italian bread, whatever, it would be gone in a matter of 48 hours or less. And I've had conversation after conversation with my mother about this. We have had long talks in her bedroom, in my bedroom, about what can come of that, and what can lead to that, and health-wise, and just the frustration and anger and all of that mounting up over the next decade and a half, almost 2 decades later. And the fact that I wasn't doing so well with talking to girls was throughout middle school and high school and even college and after college as well. It's never gone right. And I would say, well, I'm lonely in my life. What comforts me? There you go. And not just slices of bread, any kind of pastries, muffins, all of the processed, manufactured crap that we delude ourselves into thinking is food, but it isn't. Fast food? How many times have I gone through to the drive-thru and gotten the same meal over and over again? And I'm not going to hold anything back here. I'll be honest with you. 2 hamburgers. 2 hamburgers. I went to McDonald's so many times, you guys. 2 hamburgers. Nothing on them, please. Large order of fries. Always had to have the large order of fries. And I also had to have those chicken strips. The 8-piece. Never the 4-piece, because these chicken tenders are huge, by the way. The strips. The chicken strips. 8 pieces, please. And maybe a soda. Or, no, how about this? Diet soda. Because that's healthier, right? Diet soda. It comes out of a bag. I worked at a movie theater for 5 years, guys. I know where soda comes from. When you look at soda, when it's sticky and it's stained and it's not a liquid, and I look at that and I'm like, people, not just me, but people are putting that into their bloodstream and they wonder why the risk for diabetes keeps going up in this country? Like, don't let the diet logo fool you, man. It's still soda. Just because it says 0 calories, oh, it says 0 on everything, that means I won't gain weight. No, but you'll crave it more. you'll crave it. You'll want more of it. And I know this because I've been dealing with this for over a decade. So that, and guys, and once I learned how to make pasta, I learned how to make pasta when I was 12. When I was 12 years old in 2005, I would pour half a box of pasta in there, and I would douse it in grated cheese. Douse it in grated cheese to the point where you couldn't even see the pasta anymore, guys. I was consumed with this. I was consumed with the it wasn't just, it was the taste, and it was the nourishment. It made me feel good. I would get so tired afterwards because I was injecting sugar into my bloodstream like crazy, but I couldn't, I wanted more of that because it made me feel good. And when I was, and I would make movies when I was a kid, when I was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, when I was all throughout the 2000s decade and the 2010s decade, I would make these movies in my bedroom. Movies nobody was even going to see. I was consumed with the idea of consumption, of making movies. And then it started to turn into material items. I gotta have, you guys saw me do this on YouTube. I have to buy more VHS tapes because I don't have this movie in the collection. I've seen it a million times, but I need to have it on DVD. I need to have it on video. Let me spend 20 to 30, I've spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on Amazon within the last 3 years, you guys. I have bought movies. I had a copy of Schindler's List on VHS and DVD. What for? But getting back to when I was a kid, I would make movies constantly, and most of these movies were not even my own idea. These were movies I was making based around what I liked in my life at that time. So if I was getting into Seinfeld, which is when I was 12, 13, I made a movie about Seinfeld. Which was basically just clips from the DVDs strung together, and that was a movie. That was the Seinfeld movie, because they didn't make a Seinfeld movie in Hollywood, so I'm gonna do it. I was consumed with that. And then I turned 17. I got my driver's license. And guys, it only got worse. For 10 years, going back to 2010, so 10 years, I would go to Wawa every day. For those who don't know, for those who don't live in New Jersey or Pennsylvania, Wawa is basically a pantry store. Because I understand they don't have Wawas on the West Coast or anything like that. But I would go to Wawa every day, sometimes twice a day, every day. And I developed a obsession with their soft pretzels. Yeah, Wawa and 7-Eleven, both of them. Mostly Wawa, because we don't really have 7-Elevens around where I live that much anymore. But Wawa, I was obsessed with the soft pretzels. I would always get the 2-pack, because they have 2 pretzels in one bag. You can get the single pretzel or you can get the double pretzel. I got the double pretzel. I would get that every day. Every day. Every single day for 10 years. Every day. I would get the cheese string with that. I would get the chocolate chip muffin with that. I would get, and this was most of the time my breakfast. This is what I would eat for breakfast, and sometimes late night snack after dinner. Which, by the way, dinner would be chicken parm, pasta, maybe 2.5 bowls of it, and iced tea. Iced tea. Never water. Never that. You would think water would be the healthiest thing. And no. Let's get Gatorade. And let's add Gatorade to this Wawa list as well. The fruit punch Gatorade, the big size. I would get that. For a year and a half, I would drink that, guys. And here's the thing. I don't exercise. Gatorade is for, you really shouldn't be drinking Gatorade at all, but Gatorade is for like when you're an athlete or something and you use it just to cool off a little bit. You should be drinking water, but Gatorade is mostly used for athletes or Powerade or something like that. But I don't drink Monster, I don't drink Red Bull, I never drank any of that stuff. I'm not into those, but the Gatorade, because it was loaded with sugar. That's what it is, it's sugar. And I can't tell you how many times the doctors have told me, don't drink calories. You want to lose weight? Don't drink calories. That's how you do it. And guys, since I was 10 years old, I've done everything. I've done everything, guys. I've done the Oprah Winfrey method. I've done the Dr. Phil method. I have done Weight Watchers. I've done Nutrisystem. I even went this far, 2018. I developed a chart where I would say, this is what we're going to do throughout January through December of 2018, and I'm going to lose this much weight in this amount of time, and then I'm not going to eat fast food anymore. Pizza, steak sandwiches, French fries, all that crap. Anything that they sell on the boardwalk. None of it. None of it. I'm not going to eat any of it. I would eat that constantly. When I work at Wonderland Pier in the summertime, you guys, I would go to the pizza shop constantly that we have in Wonderland Pier, 6th Street Pizza. I would get pizza. I would get French fries. I would get chicken. I would never eat vegetables, never eat fruit, stuff that grows out of the ground, real food. Never eat that. Never eat any of that. It's all processed. It's all fattening. It's all sugar. It's a miracle I don't have diabetes right now, you guys. It is a miracle. I praise God every day that hasn't happened to me the way I've been eating for the last 20 years. It's a miracle. Okay? And every time I would try to ask a girl out, they would always say no. Every time for 15 years. Because guys, I was obsessed with movies. I was living through films. And I would get so lonely about that. I remember watching Dawsons Creek. I'm a huge fan of Dawsons Creek. I love that show. No matter what anyone says about the show, I would watch that show and I would be like, oh my gosh, Dawson Leary. I want to be like that guy. He wants to be like Steven Spielberg. That's what I've been wanting to be like since I was 9 years old. And he's got all these friends and I got nobody. I'm sitting in my bedroom, alone, eating this crap. Not going outside, not leaving my room, not talking to people, consumed with myself. And I just couldn't. And I wanted to change, but I didn't know how. I hated the person that I was. I hated him. Because this guy wouldn't try anything. This guy doesn't want to take a risk and talk to us. But I was tired of getting rejected. I was tired of getting rejected by my job and the girls that I would ask out. And this goes all the way back to middle school. It was always the same answer every time I would ask a girl out. It was always the same answer. The same 3 answers. Oh, you're so sweet. Oh, that took a lot of courage. Right there, that meant no. The second thing was, I'm sorry, I have a boyfriend right now. Or the third one was, I have a boyfriend right now. And she didn't have a boyfriend. That was straight up a lie, which right there, that wouldn't have been good anyway. But, guys, what happened to me 2 months ago when I opened up, it was unbelievable. Unbelievable what happened. And I didn't think this could happen. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've been a Catholic my whole life, okay? I've never not believed in God. I've always believed in Jesus. I've always believed in God. I always went to Mass when I was a kid with my parents. I was baptized. I went to Holy Communion in 2nd grade. I got my confirmation when I was in 8th grade. But I stopped going to church. I did. There was a time, I didn't go to church for a long time, you guys. It was boring. Like, when you're a kid, you go to church, it's boring. You're like, when is this going to be over? Like a lot of people leave after they receive the Eucharist because they're like, oh, we got a soccer game in 15 minutes. If we don't leave early, we're going to be late. We got to get to that. Guys, what happened, it was unbelievable. Okay, so here's what happened. So I'm lonely, and I don't like the person that I am. And also, one more thing before I get into what happened to me. I was a smart ass. I was. I treated people like crap. I treated people... I'm not that kind of person. I'm not. I remember, listen, to anyone out there who's ever been bullied in school, you've been a bully too. It's true. Nobody wants to say that, but it's true. I've been bullied and I've been a bully. It happens. I'm not proud of it, but it's true. So I remember there was a time in high school when I was mocking this person, and I was kind of friends with this person too, which kind of makes it kind of sick. But I treated this person like crap, and this person started to cry, and instantly I snapped out of it. I'm like, what did I say that for? Why did I do that? That's not me. I'm better. My mom taught me better than that. Why did I... My dad taught me better than that. Why did I do that? So I didn't... But I'm not dwelling on it as a regret. So here's what happened. On New Year's Eve of 2019, I'm at Wonderland Pier. I'm working the Frontier Express. The man and dog are singing. They got all the Christmas stuff on. And it was a nice night. You know, the monorail, I was working the monorail that night, guys. It was packed. Packed. The line went all the way down the ramp. It was like that for 4 hours. We locked up at 9, 10 o'clock, somewhere around that time. And Dan, my friend who's in the Wonderland videos with me, he and I were talking for about another hour and a half on New Year's Eve. So we were talking, and we were just talking about, like, what are you going to do in the new year? What do you think Wonderland's going to be like next year? Are we ever going to get any new rides? How do we get the man and dog fixed? Because we've been trying to do that. And it was just a nice conversation, and that was it. He went home, and I went home. I said, okay, I'll see you in the new year. He goes, all right. And we left, and I came home on New Year's Eve. It's around 11 o'clock at night. Both my parents are sound asleep. My sister's out with her boyfriend having the time of her life. And I come in my bedroom, and I got nobody. Nobody but myself. Because I've been so consumed with myself for years. I was trying to lose weight for myself, which is why I failed over and over and over again at losing it. So I went home, I crawled into bed, I opened my computer, and I watched the ball drop on New Year's Eve while laying in bed. It was the lowest I've ever felt. I just felt like, this is my life now. I accepted it. This is my life. This is what it is. I'm going to be dead before I hit age 40. I'm going to die of a heart attack or some disease, some health disease. I'm never going to have a relationship with anybody. I'm never going to be a filmmaker. I'm never going to be happy, is what I was thinking. Period. Never mind the stuff that would make me happy. I'm never going to be happy at all. At all. So, New Year's Day comes. I woke up, and it was a new day. And it was the first time in 15 years, because I've been doing this since 2005, so 15 years. On New Year's Eve, I would always make a resolution list. We all do this. We all make resolution lists. How many of us keep them? We never do. We do it for 2 weeks or so, and then boom, we relapse right back to the person we used to be. You would think on that list, put go to reconciliation. Not once did I ever put that on any of those lists. You would think that'd be a great place to start. And I didn't make a resolution list because I knew I'm never going to follow up through it because this is my life now, so why do it? So I didn't. January 5th came, and it was a Sunday. And I said, you know what? It's the first Sunday of a new year. I'm just going to go to Mass. I'm going to go to church. I don't care. I usually don't go to church. It's boring. I never got into it. If I'm never going to be thin, I'm never going to be happy, I'm never going to be able to do the things I want to do in my life, at least I can say I was able to go to church. Because that, I know I can do that. It's an hour long. Let me do that. Went to church. I got there 15 minutes early, which I wasn't planning on doing. I never do that. Got there. I get into the church, and I look around, and the first, 8 pews... First of all, I walked in. Mass is about to start in about 10 minutes. The whole church was practically empty. There were maybe 10 people there. And in the front pews, they were practically empty. And usually they're filled with a lot of senior citizens and old people because, they can't, they have to be up front in order to receive communion because they can't walk too well. So I thought, and for a split second, I thought, you know what? I'm going to sit up front. I'm not going to sit in the back. I've been sitting in the back for years. In high school, in middle school, I would always sit in the back because I was afraid. I was full of doubt and fear, and I don't want that anymore. So I'm going to sit up front. So I walked up front, sat down, and from where I'm sitting, my vantage point, I can see the guy that plays piano, because we sing in church. So I could see him there. And it's 15 minutes before Mass, and he's showing it, because it's a new year, he's showing everybody they're trying to sing a song differently. And he's like, okay, this is how we're going to sing it. Now, when you open up the missals I think that's how you call it, the missalette. I forget how it's those books that are in the pews. You open it up, it has the Word of God in it and all the songs. When you open it up, I'm speaking to people who aren't Catholic. When you open it up, they have the songs in there, but they also have sheet music. You could whip out an instrument and play along with this if you're looking at this. And he goes, the piano player, he's looking at me in my direction, and there's no one else sitting around me. But he's looking at me, and I don't know this man, but he's looking at me, but he's talking to all of us in church. And he goes, can any of you read sheet music? And for a split second, I'm like, well, I learned guitar when I was 11. Yeah, I can read this. I know, okay, we have F sharps in this scale. We have B flats in this scale. That's an A, that's a G, that's an E. I can read shit. And yeah, I can, and I raised my hand. And I thought he was going to call on me at first, but he didn't. It was almost like it was just a question that he was asking people. Can any of you read sheet music? So I just raised my hand. I'm like, yeah, I could read sheet music. And he goes, okay, so this is how we're going to sing it. And he's showing us the changes, and we started singing. And I said, oh, I can't sing because I'm afraid of what people will think of me. Now, when I sing in church, I never sing in church, but if I do, I sing really low like this, so everyone else's voice tramples over me. But if I'm alone or if I'm in the car and you've got the Beatles playing and you got Genesis playing or Michael Jackson or Brad Paisley in the car, oh man, I will let it out. But I don't do that in church. But I started singing, and I'm like, okay, fine, let me just sing. I don't do that often. Let me start singing. And I started singing. And when it was over, I'm looking around. Nobody's looking at me. And I'm like, that wasn't so bad. Okay. All right, that's good. So I put the book away. The first reading comes up. The second reading comes up. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to read it. I'm going to open up the book. I'm going to read it. I don't know what this means. I still don't know what this means, but I'm going to read it. Why does Jesus talk in riddles? I never understood that even when I was 8 years old. Why does he do that? Why can't he just be straight up with everybody? And put it away. And we had Mass, and it was fine. And I stayed the whole time. I didn't leave early. I came in early, and I left after it was over. And I went home, and I felt good. I'm like, that felt really, really good. I don't know what happened back there. That was weird. That felt good, though. And I come home, and a couple of days before this happened, my mom's been telling me, Andrew, you should go to a gym. They have a special. It's New Year's. You know, it's like this amount of money for like 4 months. You should join a gym. And I'm like, but my excuse was, I'm not. I've done the treadmill so many times. We had a treadmill in our house when I was a kid, and I got on that treadmill so many times, I still wasn't able to lose my gut. I've had this gut since I was 8, 9 years old. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And I can't tell you how many times my mom has told me, if you work out for 30 minutes a day, you do the treadmill 30 minutes every day, you can drop weight like that. And so all that came flooding to the surface, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do the gym. I'll do it. I don't care. Let me do it. I went to the gym, signed up for 4 months, paid the money, and I'm like, okay, fine, I did it, okay? Let me go on the treadmill. I did 30 minutes on the treadmill. Guys, I poured sweat into my shirt, and that felt really good. But I've done that before, because when I was, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, we had a treadmill in our guest room, and I would be on that not all the time, but in those days, I would do 45 minutes, and then I would stop, and I would say, well, I still have my weight. I'm hungry. What nourishes me? To the kitchen every time. But now I'm getting better. And I was on the treadmill Monday, January 6th, I joined. And I was there every day. And then January 12th came, the next Sunday. And I said, okay, I'm going to go to church. I'm going to go to 12 o'clock Mass. I didn't go to 12 o'clock Mass because I woke up at 11:15. And I'm like, I don't have enough time. But they had a 5 o'clock Mass in the afternoon. So I'm like, okay. So I said, I'm going to go to 5 o'clock Mass on January 12th, on Sunday. And so during the day, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't know what to do. I got nothing else. So I'm sitting in my room and I'm watching Dawsons Creek. I'm not eating anything because I'm trying to do the treadmill. I'm trying to be better. But I'm watching Dawsons Creek. Now, if any of you that have seen Dawsons Creek, I'm watching the first season. And to those who don't know about the show, Michelle Williams' character, Jen, I think she's an atheist or agnostic. I'm not quite sure what she is. But basically, she doesn't believe in God, I think. But her mom is a devout Christian. I mean, like, her mom is, or her grandmother, she is a devout Christian. And there's a moment in the episode, because throughout the entire first season, Jen's grandfather is dying in the hospital, and her grandmother is praying. And I'll never forget this, because this was the moment when I realized she's praying. Now, this is a show, but she's praying, and Jen's like, Grams, why are you praying? I mean, just because you pray, it's not going to change God's mind. That's not going to do anything. And she's like, "Oh, child, you've got it backwards. Prayer doesn't change God. Prayer changes me." I heard that, and I'm like, okay, all right, God, you want me to go to church? Fine, I'll go to church. Because it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I didn't want to go to church. I didn't want to. It was a long day, and I'm in my comfort zone. So I'm like, okay, let me go to church. I went to church. There's a new priest there. And I'm like, this guy's new. Who's this? He wasn't a priest. He was visiting. His name is Deacon Ralph Poyo. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And he said Mass, and his homily was about 35 minutes long, and I was just sucked into it. And he said, tomorrow night, which is Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night, I'm going to be giving sermons here at 7 o'clock. And you're welcome to come into the church and listen to my stories, but I'm basically going to show you how to have a relationship with God. I'm going to show you how to do it. And he told all of us, he's like, if you think you're getting into heaven just by doing a few token good deeds and keeping the commandments as a checklist, you are sorely mistaken. You are not getting into heaven like that. And I'm like, what? That's what I've always thought. God says to keep the 10 commandments. Okay, but I wasn't. I was stealing from people. I was lying to people. I was coveting girls that were in relationships with other men. Yeah, I didn't go to church all the time. I worshipped other people before God. Yeah, I didn't always respect my mother and my father, and I started realizing I'm not keeping the 10 commandments. I've never been like that, but I never stopped believing in Jesus or God. I just didn't want to open up. I was putting everything in my life before God. And here's the thing. With this whole food addiction that I had, I deluded myself into thinking that I was not an addict, even though I knew I was, but I didn't know how to change. And I kept deluding myself into thinking that I wasn't an addict because my father, he's been sober from alcohol for 35 years. And even as a little kid, from time to time, I would ask him, I would say, Dad, how did you get sober? Because I figured if he can get sober from alcohol, I can get sober from this stuff. How did you get sober? And he would say what everyone who's ever gone to AA says, you gotta give yourself up to a higher power. You do that, it all starts working out. But you have to do that and you have to be consistent. And I'm like, so how does one do that? And Deacon Ralph said, I'm going to show you how to have a relationship with God. In other words, give yourself to Him. And I'm like, he's going to show us how to do that? Sign me up, please, because I have no idea how. I've been looking for that answer for years. And I went, and those 3 nights were so memorable. And every night I came home, I just wept, cried my eyes out in front of my mom and told her everything, in front of my dad and told him everything, because I didn't realize that I was putting everything in my life before God. And why do that when all things are possible through God? And that's in the Bible, by the way. By the way, I never had a Bible. I've never had a Bible. I borrowed my mom's, and my mom eventually gave it to me. I've never read the Bible of my own volition. Never. Never prayed the rosary. Never. I haven't said my prayers before I went to bed since I was 5. I started doing that every night, you guys, since January 12th when Deacon Ralph came over. And I feel it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what happens. And so on the last night of the sermon on Wednesday, he would ask, Deacon Ralph, before he would start talking, he would ask certain people in the pews to stand up and talk about what's going on in their lives, and maybe we could pray for them or whatever. And I asked him before the last sermon started, I said, Deacon Ralph, can I stand up and tell them everything that I'm basically telling you right now, but shortened? And he goes, sure, absolutely. I was going to call on people anyway before the sermon started. He called on me. I stood up, I told him everything, how I'm losing weight, how I'm saying prayers, and it's like, but I'm not doing it as a checklist anymore. I'm not doing it for me. I'm not doing it for me. And after that sermon was over, this woman that works with me, who I've known as an acquaintance, she came up to me and she goes, hey, listen, we got a prayer group. You want to join? We're going on a retreat this weekend. I mean, it's Wednesday. The retreat starts in 2 days. And I'm like, no, I want to go. I used to belong to a youth group when I was in high school. They were some great times. I want to go on a retreat. Let me do that. I haven't done that in years. She's like, really? Like, okay, like that doesn't just happen. Usually we don't, but I wasn't doing anything anyway. I was going to be watching shows all weekend in my room. I don't want that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. Let me go with you. And I went on the retreat, changed everything. I've been praying, hoping that I would get some friends in my life, and I got them. I met nine great people, and I see them every week. And these are great people. These are really great people, and they're around my age. And it's just like I wanted that so badly. And it's not a friend, and these aren't friendships where the common interests are the main goal, because those friendships don't usually work out. Yeah, for the most part, when you're a kid, common interest is usually what makes you become friends. When I was a kid, the common interest was the Beatles, you know, and so we had a friendship based around that. And then as I got older, you know, with some guys, the common interest was films, movies. I've never had friends that wanted to be filmmakers before. We were able to communicate on that. And then as I got a little older than that, Wonderland was the big common interest. And it's like, none of my friendships revolved around having a relationship with God. Never! That never came up. And here's the thing, with the friends that I have now, it's like, yeah, we have common interests. Like, these guys like movies, these guys like 80s music, yeah. But it's all through God. So this is new, and this was a whole new thing for me. And I remember when we were on the retreat, we had mass on Saturday night in the chapel, and we were also going to do confession. Now, I haven't been to confession in well over a decade, and I confessed sins that I held down deep down inside. That was one of the things Deacon Ralph talked about. He's like, this little black box. We all have this little black box, secrets, where we say, oh, I'm not saying this to the priest. I'm not saying this to anybody. I'm taking this to the grave with me. No way can anyone know about this. And it's like, and I remember they were saying, you know, listen, when you go to the priest and confess your sins, remember, this priest has done confessions in jails. So I'm pretty sure anything you have can't be that bad. And it doesn't matter. Because, and this is something Deacon Ralph showed us, he goes, when you sin and you do things that you know are bad, but you do them anyway, listen, spiritual warfare, this opened up the big picture for me. People today in culture, like, I hear this a lot. People are saying, like, oh, I'm woke now. I live in woke culture. I'm wide awake now. That's not the big picture. I thought it was too. That's not the big picture. This is the big picture. Spiritual warfare is real. You have demons on your back 24/7, and you have angels on your back 24/7. And in every moment that you live, you do it through God. And that's how you become a better person. That's how you change. That's how you become better than the person you once before was. You can say, in a sense, I was getting sober. And I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. I've never done drugs in my life. I've never had a glass of alcohol in my life ever. I don't drink. I don't do any of that. My father would always tell me, he's like, because he was an alcoholic. He goes, don't ever drink, don't ever smoke, don't ever do drugs. Just don't do it. Don't do it. And I loved my dad. I love my dad. I have a strong connection with my dad ever since I was a little kid. So if my dad told me not to do something, I wasn't going to do it. And I remember I told my dad that recently because I've been losing weight, and he tells me, he's like, Andrew, how come you never had alcohol before? And I said, easy. You told me not to do it. And he goes, really? That's all it took? I said, yeah. And he was surprised, you know? But getting back to the retreat, I confessed my sins. And I'm wailing again. Guys, I've been wailing almost every day because I realized I was putting everything before God, and I didn't even realize that I was. And this is why I'm angry at myself. This is why I'm lonely. This is why, because I wasn't putting God into anything I was doing. I was forcing myself to do my hobby of making movies. And listen, you can have a hobby. Jesus had a hobby. Carpentry. Right? So you don't have to force yourself to do a hobby. Just say, you know, I remember one of the guys was telling me this on the retreat. He's like, if you still want to do your hobby, don't do it for the sake of doing it. Just ask God. Just say, God, I want to do this, and I'd like to bring you along with me. Now, God's going to be with you no matter what, but you're inviting him in this time. It's different now. It's different. God never left me. God never left me. The demons leave because the demons don't care about you. They don't. They want your soul, but they don't care about you. You could sin every day and God still loves you. The amount of love that God has, I can't even put that into words. And in fact, people who have died, because I've seen this on YouTube, people that talk about near-death experiences that they've had, where they go to heaven and they meet Jesus and Jesus says, you're not ready yet, and they come back into their bodies. They describe heaven, and I've heard some of these stories, they describe heaven as in, like they don't even have words for it. Because we're so used to the physical world that we don't even know what heaven could be like. Okay? We don't know. We have an idea, but it's indescribable because that's how great and powerful it is. And so I went to confession, and then we had Mass, and then after Mass we did something. And by the way, this is coming from a Catholic, okay? I was raised Catholic. And by the way, I want to say this right now. I'm not making this video to convert anybody. I don't care. I don't care if you're Catholic or you're Jewish or you're atheist or agnostic. I don't care what you believe in or if you don't believe in anything. I don't care. I'm not making this to convert anybody. I'm just saying that I felt something that I never thought I would ever feel in my life, because for years I felt lonely. And I felt like I couldn't accomplish anything. Because life was constantly throwing these things at me and I couldn't do anything about it. Because I just accepted that this is my life now. But now, it's a little different. I'm reversing stuff now. And okay, so we were in the church for about an hour after Mass, and we did this thing that I never even heard of, and it's Adoration. And that is when people just pray and the Holy Spirit comes in. And guys, when I was praying, I felt something I never felt before. I felt like we were saying this stuff, I forget what we were saying, but we were saying it in Latin. And I had the translation right there, and I couldn't get the words out. And I'm like, my stomach feels weird. I can't be sick, no, but I couldn't get the words out. It was like I was twitching, I couldn't get it out. As soon as it was over, I left. I left the church. I went into my room. My heart was beating really fast. I was sweating bullets. I had to rip my shirt off. I just laid on my bed. I was like, am I dying? Like, it felt like I was dying. I didn't know what was going on. And I was like, and for like a split second, maybe a couple seconds, I could feel my soul and my body are not the same thing. They're not. They're not. They're completely separate. They're not the same thing. And I realized in that moment, what was that? And then we all met in the living room afterwards, and I remember telling one of the guys there, I'm like, what was that? That was the first time I've ever been through there. And he points to the guy who was in charge of the retreat, and he goes, hey, and he's pointing at me, first Adoration. And he was like, oh, so what was that like? And I was like, what was that? Like, I've never been through that before in my life. I never even heard of Adoration, and I'm Catholic. Never heard of it before. And it was unbelievable. And I felt like I was lifted up out of my body in a way. I had my eyes closed. Guys, I had my eyes closed. Like, I'm sitting in the pew and I had my eyes closed, and all I could see, I could still see the chapel. I could still see the church. My eyes are closed. And it's like my eyes are wide open, but I could still see the church. And I look up, and they're playing this holy music in the background. I saw Mary. And I saw Jesus. I couldn't see their faces, but I knew it was Mary because I could see the blue veil that she has. And I saw a man next to her with his arm around her. They were walking up the aisle towards the chapel. They had their backs turned to me, but I could see it. I could see it right there. And this man had his arm around her with long hair. I knew it was Jesus. I knew it was Jesus. And then we went home after it was over, and you know what? We had a period during the retreat where for an hour just to be in utter silence with God, and God told me, not in the physical sense, but I knew there were some things that God wanted me to do when I came home, and that is get rid of some of these possessions that you have. I won't reveal what they are because it's not important, but he said get rid of these because they're bringing you down. Get rid of this. Get rid of this movie because you don't watch it and you know it's nothing but sin in that movie. There's nothing good can come from that. You only got it because it looks nice on the shelf. Get rid of it. Get rid of this movie. Get rid of that tape. Get rid of this book. Get rid of all this stuff. I threw away 9 garbage bags worth of crap that I was saving. And for what? For what reason? And I threw it away, and I was terrified to throw this stuff away. But the one thing that really stuck out to me, and this was huge, I've been making movies since I was a kid, and a lot of these movies I have on 8mm tapes, little tapes like this, because I had them on a camera, on a Sony camera. And when I made this one particular film, I made a scene in this movie where it involved the Bible and it involved the mother of all curse words, okay? And even when I made that movie, I didn't like that. So I rewound the tape and taped over it with a new scene and a new line. But I was still keeping the intent of cursing the Bible, and for the sake of a movie that really wasn't even my idea. I stole this from another horror movie. It was a horror movie I was making, but I made it when I was 15, and I always felt bad about that. Even though the line wasn't in the movie anymore, it's still, the movie, I hated the fact that I made that movie. I don't know why I made that. I came home, I came in my bedroom, and I was nervous, because now I'm aware of this spiritual warfare thing about demons telling you what to do, and you gotta not listen to them and listen to God and do everything through God. I came into my bedroom, I opened up my drawer, because God was telling me, I was like, I gotta throw this movie in the garbage. I gotta throw it in the garbage, because I'm getting my movies on DVD. And inside, I could feel the presence of God telling me, before you continue with this, getting your movies on DVD, you have to get rid of this movie. You cannot get this movie on DVD and edit that scene out. You cannot watch this movie again before you get it on DVD. You have to throw it out. It's gone. It's not even your idea. Get rid of it. This is not you. Throw it out. And guys, I could never part with this. I could never throw away anything out. Any material things, I couldn't throw it out. I couldn't throw it out. I'm not a hoarder, but I couldn't throw this out. And I found the tape. It was labeled, and I picked it up. And guys, I could feel it. The demons were working overtime, and I had it in my hand, and I'm like, I can't throw it in the trash in my bedroom because I'm gonna walk by that 100 times a day, and it's gonna dawn on me, and I'll put it right back in the thing. I gotta throw it out in the garbage in the kitchen. I gotta do that. So it's like 3 in the afternoon. My mom's prepping dinner, and I go out there, and and as I'm walking towards the garbage can, my hand is clutching tighter and tighter and tighter on the tape. Tighter, really tight. And I get over to the trash can, open up the lid, and I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. I was just standing over the trash. I couldn't do it. And my mom was standing there. And she said, Andrew, what are you doing? You're just standing over the trash. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, Mom, can you throw this out, please? Can you throw this tape out? And she's like, what is it? I said, Mom, don't read it. Don't read the label. Don't look at it. Just throw it out, please. Throw it out. She threw it out. The second she threw it out, I hugged my mother tighter than I ever have in my life. And it felt like I was hugging Jesus. It did. Because I just slayed a demon right there. And it felt so good. It felt so good. What was I worried about? What was I worried about? Nothing. I wasn't worried about anything. Stress and frustration over nothing. And I threw it out. And I kept going to the gym. And eventually, I started fasting. The cravings have stopped. I haven't been to Wawa in 2 months, guys. In 2 months. I went into a Wawa once to get some half and half for my mom. I walked by the pretzels. I didn't get a craving at all. Not at all. When I eat pasta, I measure it in a cup, and I eat it, and I'm still satisfied with that. I don't pour half a box in there anymore. I don't drink soda that often anymore. I don't do any of that. I've lost 42 pounds! In 2 months, I couldn't shred 2. I lost 42! I went from 300 pounds to 257. I still can't believe it. And I'm so thankful every day that I'm able to do this. I can't believe it's happened. I couldn't do it without God. I opened up to God, and look what happened. And now I think anything's possible. Because I realized this is why I couldn't have a relationship with a woman. This is why all the girls were saying no. Because how can oneself have a relationship with a woman if you don't have a relationship with God? How does that work? It doesn't. You can only fool yourself for so long before you realize you need God through everything that you do. And look, getting sober doesn't just mean ditching the habit. It means letting go of the person you were and becoming the person God wants you to be. Whoever that is. Because God knows you better than anybody. God knows what you're thinking. God knows who you are. God created you. He knows who you are. And He wants you to be happy. All the time, whenever you're filled with anxiety, you just tell Lord, you just get on your knees and you say, Lord, take this from me because I'm not happy with it, please. And it's amazing. It's so amazing. I gave myself up to a higher power. I'm losing weight. I'm not hungry anymore. When I say I'm hungry, I'm not. I haven't eaten white bread. We bought white bread. I haven't eaten it. I haven't been eating it because I don't want it. Because I know what it leads to. I lived it for 17 years. And I'm happy again. I'm happy again. And I'm praising God every day. I'm so thankful for all of that. And it can only get better. It's going to be hard. Life is hard. Life is going to throw some hard things at you in life. But there's nothing to be afraid of. I started reading the Bible, and I'm reading the Gospel of Matthew. Matthew is one of the best books in the New Testament because Matthew quotes Jesus the most. Jesus is talking to the disciples, and by the way, that's in the Bible. I never knew that. Because I always wondered, why does Jesus talk in parables? Why does He talk in riddles? Why can't He just talk like everybody else? I've been asking myself that, and that's in the Bible, because it all makes sense, because Jesus also says this. He goes, if you choose to love others, okay, getting into heaven is like getting a reward. Eternal life with God. That's a big reward. How does one get an award? How does one get a reward? You work for it. You work for it. What do? You pray. And praying to God does not mean making a wish and maybe it'll come true, maybe it won't. That's what I thought praying was. Praying is not that. Prayer is a relationship with God. There's a way of praying. It's not just Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. God, I want this, please give me this. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. That's not what praying is. There's a way of praying. This is how the group taught me how to do it. This is how you do it. When you pray, the first thing you should do is thank God for everything He's blessed you with. Everything you take for granted in life. Family, friends, a job. I have 2 jobs, by the way. I didn't think of that. How blessed am I? A job. The fact that you could love one another. The fact that, how about this? Oxygen. Thank God for oxygen. If we didn't have oxygen, we'd all be dead. No one would be able to do anything. Now, think about that. We take that for granted a lot. You pray to God and thank God for everything that's ever happened in your life, the good and the bad. Because the bad things are going to make you realize later in life, that's why they happened. To get you here. And you're happy now, right? There you go. So count all the blessings. Number 2, ask Him to help you repent from things. Sin. Things that are not of God's way. Things that you know you don't want to do, but they're so tempting. By the way, have you ever counted how much time temptation comes at you in a day? Like, take a step back from your day-to-day life and just count how many times temptation comes to you. It happens more often than you think. It's not just, hey, the guys are going behind the school to smoke a joint. You want to join us? It's not just that, guys. It's more. There's a lot more times temptation will come to you in a day than just that. So that's the second thing. Ask to repent. Then the third thing is ask for something that you would like to have. You're like, God, I'm happy, but I would love to have this in my life. And And that's it. That's what prayer is. Prayer is a relationship with God. And here's the best part about it. You don't need to talk out loud for God to hear you. God can hear you. He never left. He's right here. He never left. He never left. The demons will leave because they don't care. But God cares. He never left. This whole time. He was there the whole time. I just didn't want to let him in because I was afraid to trust him. I trust him now. And this is how one becomes sober. Don't ever count the days that you're sober. Because when you're an alcoholic or a drug addict or a food addict, in my book, don't count, I'm 2 days sober, I'm 10 days sober, I'm 2 months sober. It doesn't work like that. You are an addict every day of your life once you realize it. And once you've given yourself up to God, this is how it works. You live in the moment, not in the day, not in the week. Don't stress out over the days to come. Don't stress out over what is to come on Saturday. If you've got something big planned coming up this weekend, don't stress about it. Because Jesus says this in the Bible too. I'm paraphrasing a tad, but he says something like, don't look at all the days of your life. Only look at today, because today has enough problems. Okay? So, but the way I see it is, I don't see it as a day. I see it as the moment. Live in the moment. In this moment right now, what are you doing? We got 2 choices here. This is the moment. And as you do more and more of moments like that, that turns into hours. The hours turn into days, turns into weeks, turns into months, turns into years. And as you go forward, you start getting better. But you got to do it through God. Through every decision that you make, you got to do it through God. And it's going to be hard because temptation's going to be in your face 24/7. And it's going to be hard. But here's something Deacon Ralph said. He had something really well when he was doing these sermons. And he's on YouTube, by the way. He records himself on YouTube, his sermons. They're on YouTube. Deacon Ralph Poyo. P-O-Y-O. He's on YouTube. He's amazing, this guy. He had this great way of teaching us how to have a relationship with God and how to give yourself up to God, involving a wheelbarrow. He brought a wheelbarrow into the church. And he goes, there's a story of a man who was wheeling stuff across Niagara Falls on a tightrope, I think, with a wheelbarrow. And there's a crowd of people behind him. And he he walks across Niagara Falls and back with the wheelbarrow on a tightrope, and everyone's cheering him on. He's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And he goes, hey, you guys want to see me put 200 bricks in this wheelbarrow? I can do that. And they're like, yeah, do that. And he does it, and he comes back and he goes, okay, now what about if I did the same thing but with a person in the wheelbarrow? And everyone's like, yeah! Which one of you wants to be in the wheelbarrow doing it with me? Yeah! Because that's what it is. This is the point of the story. You can't, in life, you can't put 1 foot in the wheelbarrow and 1 foot out of the wheelbarrow. Because where's your balance on? Outside the wheelbarrow, right? You can't be in a relationship with God and then turn from him in your daily life and do things that are not of God's way. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. This is why the priest always says at the end of every Mass, let us go in peace to love and serve the Lord and one another. There you go. That's what that means. And then I started putting everything into perspective. I'm like, okay, so this is why God had me do this in high school. This is why I did that. This is why this happened. Because I mean, here's another blessing I'm blessed for. When I lived in Marlton for 12 years in my childhood, okay, when we moved, I went through 7 months of depression, okay? And you know what happened? I got a job working at Wonderland Pier. That never entered my head to want to work at Wonderland Pier. I've been a fan of Wonderland Pier since I was 3 years old in '96. But I've never thought about working there. And in 2014, 2015, I got to change the man and dog back to the 90s. I mean, I've only dreamt of that since I was 7 in the year 2000. And I was able to do that. Well, all I had to do was leave Marlton. Because that was always in the back of my mind for 15 years. But I didn't think it would happen. I didn't think that would happen. I never thought that. I was telling this to Dan a couple days ago. He works with me at Wonderland. I said, Dan, You got to create the light show on the giant wheel. You wanted to do that for years. Look what happened. You know? It might not go, listen, when you pray to God for something, it might not go the way you plan, but in hindsight, looking back, that does make sense now. Yeah. And God says this in the Bible. So getting back to heaven is a big reward. Getting into heaven is like getting a reward. If you choose to love everyone that only loves you in return, what kind of a reward is that? That's easy. Everybody can do that. Anyone can do that. That's why he says, love your enemies too. Keep them closer. Friends close, enemies closer, right? We've heard that phrase for years. But that's why Jesus says that, because yeah, it's also like the time when when Judas betrays Jesus and he's brought to Caiaphas and then eventually to Pontius Pilate. They all ask him that question. They always say, "Are you the son of God? Are you the King of the Jews? Are you the Messiah?" And Jesus could have saved himself. The devil was trying to get Jesus to do that many times, especially during the 40 days in the desert. You know, if you are the Son of God, perform a miracle. They'll all worship you. Jesus doesn't do that. He says to Caiaphas, "You say that I am, because you can't, because if he had performed a miracle, they all would have worshipped him because of the miracle, not on their own. Not on their own. You got to do it on your own. You have to believe in God within yourself, through God. Because on Judgment Day, when you die, God already knows who you are, but God wants to see, and again, never put God to the test. That's in the Bible too. Never put God to the test, but God wants to see if you will follow him or not. He wants to see. But he still loves you anyway because he created you. But it's stupid, looking back on it now, to worship man. It's stupid. Man and women, they're human beings just like you. Why worship that? You know, there's no meaning in that. It may feel like there's meaning in it, but that can only last for so long. That ends. And love with God never ends. It never ends. And it makes me wonder, what else is coming my way? Because if I can lose 42 pounds in 2 months, and if I can keep going, I can look really good by summertime. I won't have to wear a t-shirt when I go in the ocean anymore. That would be great. And even if I never get a girlfriend, I'm okay with that. I don't care. I don't care anymore. I've stopped dwelling on it. If it happens, fantastic. And if it doesn't happen, it's okay too. It's okay. I work at Wonderland Pier and I love it. I get to fix the man and dog. I get to do that. I still can't believe I get to do that. I get to fix the animatronics. I get to paint stuff at Wonderland Pier. And I get to meet all you guys, because you guys love it too. And I am so thankful and so happy. And I'm happy again. I'm happy again. And I realized living through movies doesn't work. Because even though movies are fake, and I've known they're fake, they're still entertaining. Look, I'm not saying in order to have this happen to you, in order to be happy, sell all your possessions, give the money to the poor, keep the commandments. Because Jesus said this to the rich guy that came up to him, and the rich guy was upset because he realized he had to part ways with material things. But I'm not saying sell all your stuff, go to the convent or the priesthood and worship God. No, I'm saying don't put it first. Don't put it before God. You can still enjoy those things, but don't get attached to it. Put God first. Because God knows what kind of person you are, and only good things can come from that. And that's what I've learned. And this happened to me, and it's kind of funny that this would happen in the year 2020. 2020. What do people normally think of 2020? Aside from the fact that it's an election year. Sight. 2020 vision. Sight. I'm seeing a lot clearer now. Thank you, God. Thanks for listening, you guys. I'll see you at Wonderland Pier and on my channel.